PowerPlayChess, brought to you in association with Kagi. The US Championship is currently taking place, and I'd like to show you 3 tasty positions, just little extracts that will whet your appetite for this fascinating tournament. Let's jump straight in. Battle of 2 big beasts, Fabiano Caruana against Levon Aronian. So you can see that Fabi is on the attack here. Look at these pieces lined up on the h-file. Aronian's just brought this bishop back to c8. Now it's possible to take on h7, but there's better in this position. What would you play? White to play here. Well, Fabi played rook h2, which was just a moment's hesitation. And after rook b7, so the rook was able to step back and lend some protection to the king side. And actually, Aronian was okay. He managed to hold the draw. But there's a beautiful move that Fabiano missed here. Are you ready? Knight e6. That's a wonderful idea. So it's just stepping in the way, a lovely interference move, stepping in the way of both these. So the idea is actually, well, I mean, there's a couple of threats that white has, let's say g7 and queen h7, but also this move, queen e5. So yeah, interesting things are happening. So for example, if bishop takes, then queen e5, and if king g8, then, well, white is crashing through here. And this is absolutely crushing. And if queen g7, then rook h7. So bishop takes e6 fails. That move, queen e5. So there we can see that white now has access to this square because the queen has been blocked. And of course, queen takes, then queen h7. And after knight e6, there's absolutely nothing that black can do here. I mean, that's a big miss by Caruana. And yes, as I said, they eventually drew. Okay, moving on. Now, this was a classy bit of technique from Wesley So. Now, Wesley So playing white against Christopher Yu. So they reached this endgame. Well, Wesley had transposed down into this endgame. He's a pawn up. And with these connected pawns on the king side against these 2 split pawns and white pawn up, it looks like this should be a win for white. But Wesley's next move was absolute class. Incredibly, it's very easy for white to go wrong in this position. So okay, well, how would you play with white? I think it's really interesting technique. Wesley is he's a class act, and he got this absolutely right. It's not easy to finish off. So let's look at the obvious move. Rook h6. Let's go for this pawn. If we can win that one, then 3 against 1 will be easy. But black plays king g4. Okay, we can check the king away and then go rook g5. And it looks like white is still, on track here. But this is not so clear. In fact, the king can be an absolute nuisance here. So after the check, the white king doesn't really have very good shelter. It can't step back behind the pawns. And rook a2. And this is really annoying for white. So let's say f3, another check. The king goes forward. The rook comes back to hassle these pawns. And this is very unfortunate for white. I mean, if f4, then rook takes g3. That's already a draw. So the king and rook are very actively placed, actually. Far from being sidelined, actually that king on h3 does a really good job of attacking white's pawns. So the obvious move, rook h6, actually doesn't work. I mean, you can check and push the king back. but that's still not so clear. But Wesley's move finished the game. It's a brilliant idea. Are you ready? King f3. So the whole point is that this prevents Black's king from marching to h3. Well, not the whole point. The other point is that the king gets some cover on g2. So the game went rook a3, king g2, and here you resigned. Was that premature? Well, not at all, actually. Let's have a look. What would happen, for example, if Black pushed the pawn? Now, the h-pawn can be collected very easily. So, for example, if king g4, well, you can see that the king can't escape here. In fact, Black's king ends up in a mating net. Rook f6. And the tables really have well and truly turned there. Rook f4 coming. Let's go back to the position after king g2. So let's just check this again. So a4, rook h6. Now, instead of king g4, of course, it's possible just to push the a-pawn, but, well, I'll show you how easy this is for white, actually. Take that pawn, and then you put the rook behind the a-pawn, so this isn't really going anywhere. The king might come over to help, but now it's really easy. Just push, and Black can do absolutely nothing here. It's actually terribly simple. And in fact, you don't even need the king to win the game. It's really extraordinary. So yeah, absolutely beautiful idea from Wesley. King f3, and the king comes here, and only then you go to pick up this h-pawn. Brilliant technique. And finally, I'd like to show you the finish to the game between Dominguez and Sam Shankland. Well, Sam had played a great game. And you can see that Sam with Black is looking good at this end of the board, where we've got two mates in one threatened. Queen takes bishop and, well, three mates in one. Pawn takes pawn, queen takes pawn, and queen takes bishop. Dominguez tried a last check here. Okay. How do you play with Black? You've got a lot of options here, actually. You can block the check. You can move the king to 3 squares. Okay, so what are you going to do? Black to play. This one should be in the bag, but you've still got to finish it off. First of all, let me show you what happened in the game, which was king h7. It looks like the king is completely secure. White's queen is threatened. Checkmate is threatened at the other end of the board. Surely it's time for white to resign, but no. Dominguez found queen g8. What a save. That's taken. Dominguez gets a new queen, and this is a draw by Perpetual. If the king steps out here, then you can see queen h4, and the position will repeat. And after bishop f8, queen check. And there is nothing better for Black here. I mean, you can try this one. I mean, this could even turn nasty if you try this, because the rook can come down, and this could get a little bit tricky for Black. Apparently it's still a draw, but anyway. Shankland just put the bishop in the way, and 3-4 repetition, and that's a draw. Wow. What disappointment, because Sam was in fact completely winning here. Well, not completely. These moves aren't very good. King h5 could be met by rook c5. And that's repetition. But the winning move here, as I'm sure you spotted, was f6. And that really is the end. It looks like an ugly move. I think that's the thing. You know, Sam just thought, well, king h7, that looks really neat. It looks ugly to kind of block in the bishop somehow. But it does the job. White has nothing here. You can give up that one. Like this. And do that. But queen takes. And black is a whole rook up. And some nasty things are happening here. I mean, this is not perpetual. So, for example, here. In this case, the king escapes. And, yeah, finally. And then black will turn the tables and get at the white king. An incredible save from Dominguez. Really nice. But, yeah, poor old Sam. He'll be absolutely kicking himself. Poor guy. Let me give you the standings after 4 rounds. This is a great tournament. There's a lot of rivalry at the top. So Fabiano Caruana is leading with 3 out of 4. And then we have Hans Niemann, Wesley So and Samuel Sevian all on 2.5. And, well, further down, we've got Levon Aronian on 1.5. Not so great from him. But, you know, a lot of young players in the tournament. And that makes it really exciting. You know, they want to have a go. So it's going to be a fascinating tournament. In fact, at the moment, looking at the live rating list, actually, you know, Caruana has now gone over 2,800 and Hans Niemann is climbing up to number 15 in the world after 4 rounds. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, there'll be more on the US Championship coming soon.